my fellow film low southern thinkers, LP's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangoes of South Florida, and today's date is Wednesday, September 19th, 2018. So let us begin. Oh, hey folks, how you doing today? Just mellowed out right now. I'm at Stash, located at 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or the Hemisphere District to be exact. And concerts happening tonight. Rainbow Kitten surprise. Let's see how it goes. So, season start to pick up in the entertainment industry in South Florida, which is cool. Alright, so, yeah, just hearing the whole song and dance about the carnival thing. I'm just laughing about sexual harassment and sexual assault claim that happened 30 some odd years ago. And not even a person like myself is not crazy about the nomination of Judge Carnival. But it's totally laughable. It's gonna let it go 30 years ago. How come nothing happened during that time? And I called it Anita Hill on steroids, or Anita Hill revisited. So we'll be talking about that, a commentary on that. And the 3D gun printing, that's another controversy as well. And so, and what's going on in Syria. It looks like they want some, you could say, rogue elements in the Western governments want to continue interfering with the affairs of Russia and Syria to end it, which they aligned to fight ISIS. So we'll be talking about that. But first, this one just came out like a little under an hour ago, and this one here came from the Statesman, and I got this from Drudge via Twitter. It says here is breaking: Austin man at center of 3D gun printed gun debate faces sexual assault charge. So let's just read what he has to say here. It's by Mark D. Wilson and Tony Polhesky for the American Statesman staff. Cody Wilson, an Austin man whose fight over 3D printed guns thrust him into a national spotlight, faces a charge of sexual assault. According to an arrest affidavit filed in Travis County District Court on Wednesday, the affidavit said a counselor called Austin police on August 22nd to report that a girl under the age of 17 told her she had sex with a 30-year-old man on August 15th and was paid $500. So I'll just keep going here. In a forensic interview on August 27th, the girl told authorities that she created an account on SugarDaddyMeat.com and began exchanging messages with a man who used the username Senjuro, the affidavit said. The pair messaged online, then began exchanging text messages. During this conversation, Senjuro identified himself as Cody Wilson. The victim said that Senjuro described himself to the victim as a big deal. The affidavit said, according to the document, Wilson sent the girl's images of his penis, and then she sent him nude photos of herself. And one moment. So, sent nude photos of herself. Investigators compared the profile photo used on the SugarDaddyMeat.com account to Wilson's driver's license photo and determined that they were the same person, the affidavit said. So, Wilson's driver's license photo. Alright. The girl told police that she met Wilson at Menu Coffee in the 500 block of South Congress Avenue in South Austin on August 15th before they took Wilson's black 2015 Ford Edge to Archer Hotel in the 3100 block of Palm Way. Detectives used surveillance footage to corroborate the girl's story, along with hotel records that showed Wilson rented a room at the hotel, the affidavit said. The girl told police she and Wilson had sex at the hotel and then he paid her $500. The pair left the hotel around 9:20 p.m. before Wilson dropped the girl off at a Whataburger on Slaughter Lane. The affidavit said the sexual assault is a second-degree felony punishable by 2 to 20 years in prison and a fine up to $10,000. Wilson, 30, had not been booked into the Travis County Jail on Wednesday morning. The jail's records show had not been booked. Interesting. So maybe he's under investigation and all that good stuff, interrogation. He rose to a national prominence in 2012. Then he announced the Wiki Weapon Project, an effort to design and build the first gun made from durable plastic on a 3D printer. His goal was to make the weapon plans available to the public. A year later, Wilson successfully fired a self-made single-shot pistol he called the Liberator and posted the plans online, only to be met with an order from the U.S. State Department to remove the post for violating federal law against exporting certain weapons or firearms designed to other countries. Wilson sued the State Department, saying he and his Austin company, Defense Distributed, had a free speech right to decimate the plans. In a reversal earlier this year, the Trump administration settled with Wilson and agreed to allow him to post plans for the 3D printed weapon designs online. Wilson declared that the age of the downloadable gun formally begins, but officials from 19 states sued, arguing that the publication of weapons plans pose a danger to national security and the public. A federal judge in Seattle agreed, issuing order last month blocking publication, and a day later Wilson announced that he had begun selling the plans, saying the judge's orders only stopped online publication, not distribution by mail or other secure means. In a recent interview with the American Statesman, Wilson said his efforts grew out of his belief in crypto anarchy, a philosophy that seeks to use a free internet encryption technology to reduce government influence over people's lives. I will continue to fight anyone who will try to sue me and say that I can't do this, he said. Interesting on this allegations, and I'm not going to defend him on these claims. However, we have to always got to question these areas as well. And it's nothing new. You got someone who's in the spotlight, and the person, 17-year-old woman, wants to make a claim to the police. Oh yeah, I had sex with them. So maybe her so-called profession is done. I'm just wondering what she is charged for. Remember, there's always going to be a credibility case on this matter. Because she was 17. I don't know what the consent age is in Texas. But every state is different, and based on the age bracket as well. So I'm not even going to go to sugardaddymeet.com. I just find it pretty ridiculous. And based on the claim, we're going to show the photo of your penis, okay, and have someone send a new photo of herself. So that's one thing I do see a possible entrapment, but I can be wrong. But the fact is this: Mr. Wilson does have a right to a fair trial. He's still innocent until proven guilty. Like anyone, like these people or not. But I know the Wilson haters are probably climaxing over this multiple times. Like I said, symbolically, they're getting off on it. But like I said, we don't know for sure how accurate this story is. If he's not, so at this time he may not be booked, but it could change at any time on the show. So I don't know. It's always some foul play now and then. Sometimes these sexual assault cases is getting pretty watered down. But like I said, I could be mistaken. And one of those, like I said, he has the right to a fair trial, innocent to proven guilty. And if he makes these pleas, it's up to him that he got to take responsibility for his actions. That's one of the areas you got to look at. So, I don't know. sometimes these things dawn on me at times. Everything's going to be timing. But there's a lot of people out there in Texas, political bobbleheads, are so much more filthier. But they get scot-free, right? Yeah. It's just an example. It's happening everywhere. But like I said before, I'm not too thrilled on the allegations. I'm not going to defend it. But they better back it up. Even the so-called victim, which I don't really see this, but it may they got sexual assault, so it can be considered statutory rape. But the truth of the matter is, looks like she may be plea bargaining. So let's make a deal. That's how I see it, allegedly speaking. But all right, well, speaking of 3D printing, here's one right here, came out today from the Boston Herald. AG sued for not releasing 3D printable gun docks. And of course, this is by Brian Dowling. And here, the gun rights groups are suing Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey for refusing to release public documents relating to their hosting of schematics for the 3D printed Liberator handgun. Brandon Combs of the California-based Firearm Policy Coalition and Brett Cortland of the Commonwealth Second Amendment Advocacy Group filed a Freedom of Information request with Haley's office August 8th for documents related to the CadellsFreeSpeech.com, but the download of Liberator schematics was available. The website hosted Amazon web server went dark August 1st. The gun groups wanted to know if Haley's office had communicated with Amazon prior to the website being taken down. The request also asked for public documents relating to their gun rights groups and the Liberator plans. Ain't that nice, right? Yeah. Haley's office responded for the request for the documents with a blanket denial, saying the office is currently involved in a litigation with one or more investigations concerning 3D printed guns. Disclosure of any records related to these ongoing matters that have been and continue to be complied by this office would divulge our litigation, pre-litigation, and investigative strategies and reveal our sources of information that our legal and enforcement position would be compromised, Haley's office said in an August 29th letter to Combs and Carlton. Haley's office claimed the documents were exempt from the open records law because they were connected on an ongoing deliberation investigation. Combs and Cartland said in the lawsuit the overbroad and complete refusal to provide any and all response to public records is unlawful, arbitrary, and capricious. Interesting. The lawsuit asked a judge to order Healey to hand over the documents and pay their attorney fees and costs. Haley's office provided a copy of the lawsuit by the Herald, said it has not been served the court documents yet, and so it would be premature to comment. In mid-August, Haley's office led a group of 22 state attorneys, general demanding Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Attorney General Jeff Sessions to act to have downloadable guns taken down. The State Department, Justice Department entered a settlement with the schematics author defense distributor, allowing the company to post the plans online. Haley and others said the ability to download and print handgun amounted to a grave public safety threat. I wonder why. Because sometimes government, Massachusetts, love to control its people. Federal court in Washington State issued a injunction barring Trump administration from allowing the plan to be put online while the court case is being argued. Coleman and other gun groups had set up the CadellsFreeSpeech.com, posted the code July 31st. We intend to encourage people to consider a new and different aspects of our nation's marketplace of ideas, even if some government officials disagree with our views or dislike our content, because information is code is free speech, and free speech is freedom, the group says. And he has a solid point there. You have to see those things as well. So, I gotta admit, I just find it very intriguing. I'm like, hey, man, come on, I can see this here. It's fun because they said that Massachusetts is the spirit of America on their license plates. Well, I know one thing, Paul Revere may be rolling in his grave, and the other Minutemen, and plus the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, etc., are probably in that same mode, rolling in their graves, right? Well, one thing I know for sure, based on the public open records law, hey, you have it, you share it, okay? If not, you should never talk about it in the first place. Oh, we got the copies, but we got everything's under investigation. You know why? One thing I got to find about Massachusetts, because they have one of the toughest firearm laws in the United States, and they love peeping times. They hate untraceable firearms because, you know why? It interferes with their job, invading people's privacies. That's one of those areas I get a big kick out of. When government gets offended, and it has to be good. When it comes to tyranny, they don't like it when people counter it. They love dishing it out, but hate receiving. So you know what? I'm expecting this to blow back in their faces when least expected. So, Attorney General Healy, you don't have a clue when you breach your oath of office on defending both U.S. and Massachusetts constitutions. Okay, we're going to go a little foreign here today. It's mainly about what's going on in Syria. It's about a land destroyer. I always admire their work, New Eastern Outlook and all that. And it says here, Syrian-Russian victory, only way to avenge Israeli-French strikes. This is by Tony Carlucci. It says here, Western and Russian media sources have reported an alleged joint Israeli-French strike on Syria on September 17th. The attack included Israeli warplanes and French missile frigates operating in the Mediterranean off Syria's coast. Amid the attacks, a Russian Tu-20 reconnaissance aircraft with the servicemen of 14 service members So the attack immediately prompted commentators, analysts, and pundits to call for an immediate retaliation to unprovoked military aggression, warning that a future to react would leave Russia looking weak. Some commentators even called for the Russian President Vladimir Putin to step down. Oh, really? Okay. Well, you know what? The funny thing about that, Assad invited the Russian Federation. So that's his call. Let's just continue on here. Not the first provocation, yet the attack is reminiscent of the 2015 Turkish downing of a Russian airplane, after which some recalls for retaliation were made, coupled with the similar commendations of Russia as weak. And since 2015, Russia's patience and methodical approach to aiding Syria in the proxy war with the U.S., NATO, GCC, and Israel has nonetheless paid off huge dividends. Russia would later aid Syria in retaking the northern city of Aleppo. Palmyra would be retaken from the so-called Islamic State in Israel and Iraq, or ISIS. Homs, Hama, eastern Ghouta, and the southern city of Daraa would even be retaken, leaving virtually everything west of the Euphrates River under control of Damascus. In fact, near the precipice of total victory was achieved by Russia and its allies, ignoring serial provocations carried out by the U.S., NATO, GCC, and Israel, and simply focusing on the task of systematically restoring security and stability to the conflict-ridden nation. Russia-backed Syrian forces are now staged at the edge of Idlib. So far tilted has the balance of power tipped in Damascus's favor that even Turkey has found itself seeking negotiations with Russia over the last remaining territory still held by the West proxy forces. The reality of Western provocations. Syria and its allies are winning the proxy war for the nation's future before Israel and France attacked. And they are still winning the proxy war in the aftermath of the joint strike. Syria has weathered hundreds of such attacks, big and small, throughout the past 7 years. Israeli planes have been operating at a distance using standoff weapons. French missiles launched from frigates also constituted a standoff strategy, avoid the risk of overflying Syrian territory and being targeted or shot down by Syrian air defenses. Modern warfare doctrine admits that no war can be won with air power alone. This means that the nation flying sorties over a targeted nation cannot achieve victory without ground forces coordinated with an air power from below. If air power alone over a nation makes it impossible to achieve victory, standoff air power makes victory even more futile. But there is another possible motive behind the West serial attacks. Modern electronic warfare includes the detection of and counter of air defense systems. Each time an air defense system is activated, its position and characteristics can be ascertained. Even if the air defense systems are mobile, the information they provide during a provocation while attempting to detect and fire at targets invaluable to the military planning. Should Russia engage in its most sophisticated air defense systems during provocations, affording the West a complete picture of both its technology in general and disposition of its defenses in Syria? Specifically, should the West decide to launch a knockout blow through a full-scale air assault, it could do so much more effectively. It's precisely what the U.S. did in 1990 during Operation Desert Storm when taking on Iraq's formidable air defenses. The initial air campaign was preceded by the use of some 40 BQM-40-74C target drones used to trick Iraqi air defenses into turning on the equipment, which was being monitored by U.S. electronic warfare aircraft flying along the Iraqi-Saudi border. It was a disclosure of this position and characteristics of Iraq's anti-aircraft systems more than any sort of stealth technology not allowed the U.S. then to overwhelm Iraqi's air defenses. Considering that hundreds of provocations that have been launched in Syria, we can assume that somewhere among them serious attempts at electronic surveillance and reconnaissance have taken place. We could also assume that competent Russian military leadership has been aware of this and has taken measures to safeguard the disposition and capabilities of its premier air defense systems until it's absolutely essential to reveal them. Interesting on that. So it's always going to be a strategy, Sun Tzu style ordeal. So we're just going to keep on going here. The best revenge will be victory over NATO. Down Syrian and Russian aircraft or casualties inflicted upon Syrian forces and their allies on the battlefield are difficult as human beings to watch without stirring desires for immediate revenge. Yet it must be kept in mind that immediate revenge rarely serves as long-term strategies toward victory. Ancient Chinese warlord and strategist Sun Tzu, in his timeless treatise, The Art of War, would warn contemporary and future generals about the dangers of caving to emotions at the expense of sound strategy. He would state, emphasis, move not unless you see an advantage. Use not your troops unless there is something to be gained. Fight not unless the position is critical. So everything necessary. No ruler should put troops into the field merely to gratify his own spleen. No general should fight a battle simply out of pique. If it's to your advantage, make a forward move. If not, stay where you are. Anger may be in change of gladness. Vexation may be succeeded by contempt. But a kingdom that has been destroyed can never come again to be, and nor can the dead ever be brought back to life. Hence the enlightened ruler is heedful, and the good general full of caution. This is a way to keep a country at peace and an army intact. It is not Russia's advantage to sink Russian frigates, or expose the full capabilities of its air defense systems to shoot down a handful of Israeli warplanes, satisfy public desires for immediate revenge, or to protect non-existent notions of Russian invincibility. Instead, it is to Russia's advantage to simply win the proxy war in Syria, just as in 2015 when a call for immediate revenge were made regarding a Turkish downed Russian warplane. Syria and Russia and Iran will continue moving forward slowly and methodically to secure Syrian territory from foreign proxies, to seek to divide and destroy the country's springboard into Iran. Eventually, work their way into southern Russia. Avenging serial provocations is infinitesimally less important than overall victory in Syria. The fate of Syria as a nation, Iran's security and stability as a result, and even Russia's own self-preservation is on the line. The awesome responsibility of those who have planned and executed Syria's incremental victory over proxy forces backed by the largest, most powerful economies and military forces on earth could greatly benefit from a public able to understand the difference between short-term gratification and long-term success, and how the former almost certainly and recklessly endangers the latter. The greatest possible to revenge, to exact upon who inflicted this war upon the Syrian people, is their absolute and total defeat. Interesting analysis here. So the truth of the matter is, they're going to do things by steps, not just run amok, unless if it's not go full blown, unless it's really necessary. So they knew what they're doing, and others got to see that. This is how you have to look at these areas. And the truth of the matter is, the NATO should never be involved in this, period. But remember, it's part of one of the 7 countries they want to fully conquer since 9/11. So that's why, my friends, this is they were just countering the one world order, regardless if you like the Syrian government or not. I'm not praising Assad in its entirety, anything like that. They have the Syrian people are critical of a great amount of his actions, which is understandable. But when they had the civil war, the foreign entities should never intervene. Only thing you're doing is united them. That's their house they want to take care of, not and not just waltz in there and believe in, oh, we're gonna tell you how to live. It doesn't work. This is why this can be a road to blowback on good folks that are serving these countries, these NATO countries, NATO forces. So one of the areas a lot of people need to look at. Let them handle their own affairs, plain and simple. All right, so we'll do one more here, and it came from Bob Livingston's Alerts. And it's entitled, Another High-Tech Lynching. And as it reads here, those of you older readers will remember when Clarence Thomas was nominated to the Supreme Court by Ronald Reagan in 1991. Obviously, not has much changed. Sure about that? I thought it was George Herbert Walker Bush who nominated him in 91. I'll continue on here. At the 11th hour of the confirmation hearing had closed, the Senate was preparing to vote to confirm Thomas's allegations of sexual harassment by Anita Hill, a former subordinate to Thomas at the Department of Education, and then the Equal Opportunity Commission was leaked to the media. The allegations threatened to derail Thomas's nomination at the last minute. The hearing was reopened, and Hill, a black woman, testified that Thomas had subjected her comments of a sexual nature when she felt constituted sexual harassment, or at least, as she described it, behavior that is befitting an individual who will remember of the court. Hill's testimony was riveting and salacious, making it must-watch television at the time. Thomas's denied the allegations. In opening remarks after Hill's testimony, Thomas said, "It is not an opportunity to talk about difficult matters privately or in a closed environment. This is a circus. It's a national disgrace. And from my standpoint as a black American, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way designed to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas, and is a message that unless you kowtow to an order, kowtow to an order, this what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured, by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree. Thomas was grilled by sanctimonious Democrats led by the Lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy. Kennedy was a well-known Philander, a daughter who was also murdered, Mary Jo Kopechin, by driving his car into a Poucha pond and leaving her there to drown and neglecting to report the incident until the next day. Despite openly continuing his adulterous lifestyle, once even being involved in creating a waitress sandwich along with other alcohol-fueled debauchery in a Capitol Hill restaurant in 1985 with fellow Democrat Senator Chris Dodd. Kennedy was considered by both left and much of the establishment right as a venerated and respected lawmaker. He's a great guy, even if he screws around. That's okay. He's exceptional. He was allowed to hypocritically judge Thomas as unworthy of a Supreme Court nomination. Thomas was later confirmed by a vote of 52 to 48. Remind me of Chuck Schumer saying that Donald Trump is an unfit president, but Chuck Schumer, the Mr. Bill of Rights himself, the Pinocchio of the Senate, is okay by people, by his so-called supporters, right? This week, the Democrats dusted off their old playbook and leaked an 11th-hour bombshell on Brett Kavanaugh's nomination. After seeking for weeks on an allegation that at 17 age, a drunken Kavanaugh attempted to sexually assault a 15-year-old girl at a house party, Senator Dianne Feinstein let the story leak, then turned it over to the Department of Justice, even though no federal crime had been alleged. The woman was subsequently outed as Christine Blasey Ford, a California college psychology professor with a history of left-wing political activism, anti-Trump donations to Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Yeah, I like to get money from trees and quacks myself. A likely grudge because Kavanaugh's mother adjudicated a foreclosure on Ford's parents' home and a brother with ties through his investment business with Fusion GPS, the Democratic opposition research firm behind the phony Trump-Russia dossier on which Robert Mueller Russia collusion investigation is based. Interesting there, right? The political left and their talking sock puppets in the mainstream media would have you believe this brouhaha is an important and necessary defense of women and a stand against unwelcome advances common in the American hierarchy in which women have few, if any, rights. This, of course, is nonsense. The progressives and communists in government and the media don't care one whit of Ford and whether she was or was not groped by Kavanaugh or anyone else some 30 years ago. She will be cast aside like yesterday's dirty underwear once Kavanaugh's hearings are over. If she suffers psychological trauma from this experience, she is just more collateral damage due to the progressive left. This fight over the progressives' efforts to ensure their right to murder babies in the womb continues unfettered. They will not stop at nothing to defend it because it has become a religion to them. Infant murder began under the altruistic sounding words Planned Parenthood, always in such chicanery. These words are totally misleading, but they have worked their charm on lukewarm church-going Americans. Not 1 in 10,000 when they heard the words Planned Parenthood thinks of child murder. The terms women's health and Planned Parenthood are conventional wisdom control phrases. Women's health provides cover for abortion, and abortion is simply a cover word for murder. Murder becomes more acceptable to the masses if it became too apparent benevolent and passed off as healthcare or choice. It wasn't so long that there was a terrible stigma placed on abortion, and it was done mostly in secret and only in extreme circumstances. Then it evolved into public policy and was sanctioned by a court of Satanists and became, in most minds, no more serious a procedure than dentistry. Baby killing, abortion is a ravenous and highly profitable industry backed by all kinds of monstrous justification. The abortionistas and their defender and proponents laminate that the baby may be defective, or born to poor or abusive parents, or it won't be properly cared for or properly educated, feeble-minded, and would therefore be a drain on society, or possibility produce more progeny that would likewise be feeble-minded, so it would be better off if it were sucked out of the womb and chopped up and bartered for Lamborghinis. Kavanaugh has stated that he sees Roe versus Wade as settled law, an indication that he will not vote to overturn that egregious bit of judicial activism. But that's not good enough for the party of baby murder and their funders. The Democrats' aim in this late high-tech lynching is to derail Kavanaug's nomination with the hope that they can win a Senate majority in the midterm election and force Trump to place a pro-baby murder justice on the court to ensure they can continue with despicable practice for another generation. We'll know next week if they succeed. Interesting commentary indeed by Mr. Livingston. But you have to look from word of the wise. And I do remember that Thomas case. I'm not even a supporter of Thomas in a lot of areas. He was involved with Monsanto, and there was a claim he associated with himself in the Bohemian Club. Yeah, well, any spiders come out of there. So it's something to really look at. But the truth of the matter is, they're just exploiting this to the core. If you've been really paying attention about the Kavanaugh hearings, he is not constitutional friendly. He may just carry that as a prop, but not hold his principles. If you talk about right to bear arms and other things, Bill of Rights, it should say it's in the Constitution, not just opinions from Justice Kennedy. See, that's dangerous. This is why you have to stick to supreme law of the land instead of opinions from justices. Because opinions is just a viewpoint, not law. But this here is just another song and dance. And I've been saying that when I talk about when I heard what was going on. I go, yep, Anita Hill revisited. That's how I look at this particular move, where these tyrannical yahoos are laying on the table here. And you know what? It's going to blow back in their faces. I guarantee you that. All right. Well, that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you said something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. And I'll be laying out all my social media sites I'm on and email addresses if you want to send those comments or recommendations. All right. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.